Welcome to the conversation on TOS Television Network. Today's Monday, yes, it's the 19th day of April 2021. The start of another week. I hope you had a splendid weekend, because I think I did have a splendid weekend. Okay, my name is Adesuwasui.
And I am Merciful Jinamo. Good morning,
Merciful.
How was the weekend?
Oh,
I said it first.
Jake, okay, so how was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good, eventful. I tried to rest well, and everything. Back on track.
Okay. It's amazing how I never feel merciful during the weekend, but it's okay. All right, it's the conversation on TOS Television Network. And before we get started proper, we'll be bringing you the quote of the day. All right, that's Joshua J there with, some Monday morning motivation. I mean, challenges should not scare you. It's probably look at you like some sort of games, right? Okay, so that challenge is here. Solve them and then move on to the next level. I mean, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I try to imagine a life where there are no problems and everything is just ease. I think it would be quite boring.
Yeah?
Because there's nothing to, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And you're like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do? And it makes it eventful. And I think I quite agree with Joshua on that one.
Yes, exactly. All right, we move straight into development across Africa. And then the first story here says, AU moves to boost investments in the water sector. Now, the head of the African Union Department for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Development, Josefa Korea Sako, has said the African continent needs to reinforce investments and build new water infrastructures to boost its economic development. Josefa placed emphasis on the fact that water is necessary to boost the productivity of most sectors. Therefore, said it is important to strengthen transboundary water projects and establish effective cooperation agreements for river basins. The Angolan diplomat also said that the situation of water scarcity in Africa is aggravated by the fact that the sector is not prioritized in most countries, even though it is a critical input for most sectors. The African Union Commission, according to her, has made commitments to work with all stakeholders in the realization of the 2063 agenda. That's the SDGs for, like, Africa has the 2063 goal to meet some target. And I think I do agree with her, saying a lot of countries do not prioritize the water sector, even though, for, I think 70% of manufacturing industry, they actually do need water, but they do not, we do know that water is life, but it's as though it's secondary, that we can always
it's not priority.
It's not prioritized. And was it, what country were we talking about that suffering, drought and dying as a result of dehydration
in
one of the African countries? So I think, a move such as this one would go a long way.
Yeah, it's actually a good one for, especially in Nigeria and all the African countries, because this is someone who is quite passionate about how we use water and how we value water. So it's going to work hand in hand with African countries to make sure at the end of the day, the 2063 or whatever, we all achieve it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Lagos Uber boat drivers threaten strike over low fares. Some Uber and boat drivers in Lagos have threatened to commence strike over low fares on Monday. The e-cab operators, under the umbrella of Professional E-Hailing Drivers and Private Owners Association, PEDPA, threatened to embark on strike if their demands were not met. The drivers have asked the e-hailing companies for increase on fares being charged by the operators. National President of PEDPA, Idris Shonunga, said this at a briefing in Lagos on Saturday. According to him, the companies had refused to review its pricing despite unprecedented increases in the price of fuel, vehicles, spare parts, food items, and other essential commodities in the country.
Yeah.
In as much as we want to, know the reason why they are going on strike and everything, these are private companies.
Yeah.
So they have management who they can really submit their issues. And I think for them to come out to say, look, I'm also surprised they have an association.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
You didn't know that? Yeah, I thought it was only government drivers, taxis and everything that, have association. But now they are saying they need to increase the price and everything. I really believe that whatever is whatever you have, whatever the app, you know, because I've worked with these apps before, and I think the way it's calculated is quite, you know, it's quite straight to the point.
Yeah.
So if they're coming out to say there's whatever, I think it's going to tell on a negative side in terms of the people using it.
Well,
Because
yeah.
for the prices to increase means you and I, we have to pay more.
Pay more.
Do you understand?
Yeah, and I think another thing is I'm not quite sure if it's the price of the fare if itself increases or maybe the percentage they take home, because I know there's a sharing formula or something.
Yes.
I think that the app,
if the percentage increases, the price will definitely increase.
Maybe they could increase the take home by 10 more percent. So if it's like a 70-30, they could now do it 60-40.
That's fair.
Do you understand? So
that's fair.
Everybody's happy. You still have the companies still have the larger fare, the drivers have an increased percentage, and then we, the end users, don't have to pay, you know, more for all of that. So there's a balance and all that stuff. We don't want them to go on strike because
definitely because we have people, and Lagos is a big city.
Exactly. So it will hamper on a lot of things. So yeah, I just think that should be settled.
Definitely.
Okay, moving over. So this one is still on Nigeria. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs and former Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Godswill Akpabio, has revealed that corruption is Nigeria's biggest problem. Akpabio made this disclosure while giving a keynote address at the Niger Delta Development Commission Strategic Capacity Building in Uyo on Friday. According to the minister, the ugly and devastating situation of the Nigerian society is due to corruption in high places in all sectors of government. Corruption is one of the greatest problems of the Nigerian society, and it also finds its ugly and devastating effects in all sectors of the polity, including the NDDC. The level of corruption engulfed all the sectors, including government, parastatals, ministries, government officials, and community leaders. Even the youth leaders and the NDDC is not left out. That's quoting Godswill Akpabio there. The minister, who outlined restiveness, breakdown of trust, abuse, and misuse of power as consequences, I beg your pardon, of corruption, also faulted weak political and institutional governance in the Niger Delta.
Yeah, we've had different guests come on the show to say this the same way, that corruption is the root of all the problems in Nigeria. And I quite agree with it, you know, even if we have different problems, but they are all linked to corruption. When people begin to think, it's my way, whatever happens, I want to fend for myself and my family first. You know, there's no this humanitarian approach to things. How do you better the lives of people you're working for? Because people who are placed in political offices they are supposed to serve the people there, but people don't understand this. So if you begin to think myself, my family, it affects every other thing. The way you're sharing the resources is going to be different. The way you treat people, the way you handle anything.
Yes, so because, you know, when we say corruption, a lot of people just assume, we're talking about maybe money laundering.
It's not just money.
Because, like, when I was reading this story, in my head, I was like, we know that. I mean, we do know corruption is the biggest problem Nigeria is faced with. Transparency is a big issue. And transparency is, for me, it's corruption. If you're not transparent with your dealings, you're not transparent with, you could be doing so much, but we're not seeing what you're doing. We don't know what's going on in the background. And then we're asking, can you guys be transparent with what you're doing so we can see and just follow due process and follow the process? Not following due process is corruption. It doesn't necessarily have to mean this person launders money, all of that. And we see all of those, you know, lack of accountability, lack of transparency, you know, not following due process. We see that across ministry, you know, agencies and all of that stuff, across sectors in Nigeria, and that's one of the biggest problems I think this country is faced with.
All right, we move still on Nigeria, talking about Yoruba leaders calling for Ududua Nation. A group in the southwest with thousands of youths, women and leaders of Yoruba are currently occupying some streets in Ibadan, demanding for Ududua Republic in a protest. Monitoring the protest live on Facebook, TOS News gathered that a group in white shirts is led by Professor Banji Akintoye, a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we don't want our women to be raped anymore. We want better jobs. We deserve more than 5,000 and 10,000 for poverty eradication. Enough is enough, the group says in the protest. The protest, which was supposed to start around 9 a.m. on Saturday, could not start until 11 a.m. due to heavy security presence at the entrance and around Mapo Hall. Participants, having sensed heavy security presence, later mobilized to the front of Mapo to begin the protest.
I mean, what they're actually asking for, and I don't mean the Ududua Nation, the fact that they want security for their women, they want maybe more revenues and stuff like that.
That's what everyone is asking
for. It's valid.
For.
That's what everyone is asking for. But I don't think asking for an independent nation or it's going to solve that. What's to say that even when the Ududua Nation is created, they
These
would
things
still
will
have
still
all
be there
of
because
those
it's a
issues.
problem. It has to be
Yes.
resolved.
It's not a problem with the people, right? I'm not, even though the system might be faulty, but we're dealing with people, not a system, right? So people make up the system. So it's people that you're still going to have in that nation. What's to say that you're not going to have all of those issues, having happening? What's to say the governing bodies or whoever you put in charge to rule the Yoruba nation is not going to actually, we're not going to have the link. So what we should be looking at, like you always say, is uniting the nation. When we, uniting the nation, having to curb corruption and all of this stuff, having leaders who actually do care about the people,
Everything
enough to actually, put things in place to ensure better livelihood. Livelihood cuts across every other thing. So better livelihood for the people. Because this just reminds me of what they're doing, in the East with the iPub. It hasn't worked. We're seeing it. Yeah, so let's just chill. And look for a better Nigeria instead of everybody having to say, okay, we won the Ududua Nation, we won the IPOB. I hope the Northerners don't come and say we won the Arawa Nation and then we have a split.
Who is now left? Like everyone now goes.
Exactly.
And we still have things, whether you like it or not, like, they quoted challenges and everything.
Yeah.
We still always have things to settle. Yeah. So it's easier if we come together as one and address this issue as one body.
Yes.
It will bring about a faster resolution to any problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think Nigerians should know this for a fact. I can't keep saying it.
Yes.
They should know this for a fact.
Hopefully we have one Nigeria. We still want Nigeria, please. I don't think I want Nigeria to be divided.
No.
One Nigeria is what we're calling and looking for. All right, that's much you can take on this segment of the conversation. We're going to go on a break now, and that will be to bring you COVID-19 updates from across Africa. Welcome back. Over 4 million active cases. Come on, guys. Since as though you guys have not been listening to me, I keep saying this. I don't want to see increase in the number of active cases or the number of deaths, which has increased to about 117,000. I do know that, there are people who already, got infected and then are getting treatment. But it seems as though we're recording new cases, and that shouldn't be happening. So do the needful, guys. Do the needful. I always say this. Do the needful. Get vaccinated. Take precautions. Wash your hands. Proper hygiene. Do everything that you need to do to ensure that we see active reduction, drastic reduction in the number of COVID-19 cases recorded in Africa, because I am not prepared for a third wave of COVID-19, and I don't think you are prepared for it. So we should just do our part. Do your part, and I play my part, and we ensure that we don't have to get, to that part here in Africa or here in Nigeria, depending on, where you are from. Okay. So we're going to go on a break now, and then when we come back, we'll be taking you through newspaper headlines for today, Monday 19th of April 2021.
The OSTV Network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sports and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, now the budget they look. Some of them sleep. They're going to ask, how much we are on. I have it.
thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu Igmenaja, and I am the People's Journalist.
Welcome back to the conversation showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, 2S Television. Don't forget you can always be a part of this by following us across all our social media platforms at TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and watch us live on our website www.tostvnetwork.com. And don't forget to also subscribe on our YouTube, TOS TV Network. It's that time where we'll bring you headlines from across some of the national dailies for this morning. We begin with Blueprint in Nigeria here from the very top. Dangote Sugar's $700 million investment will promote infrastructure development. That particular story can be found on page 24 of the Blueprint. And just underneath that story, external reserves swell as crude oil prices rise 6%. That can be found on page 25. And underneath the Blueprint tag there, Serap 6 probe of missing 106 billion naira in 149 ministries, departments, and agencies. The writer under that story says recovery will reduce country's debt profile. And Zulum earmarks 5 Borno local government for urbanization. That can be found on page 13 of the Blueprint. And to the very conspicuous headline here is Jonathan replies ex-governor Aliyu on 2015. You're a pathetic relevance seeker. And the writer underneath that story is challenges ex-governor to show evidence of agreement. And that particular story can be found on page 6 of the Blueprint. So you can grab a copy and get the details of that. Underneath the picture of the day, Black Sanders tanker fire claims 12 in Benue community. The writer says, mother, 2 kids crushed to death in Ogbomosho. And that can be found on page 14 of the Blueprint. And 2 traffickers excrete 191 pellets of cocaine. Heroin at Lagos Airport. That can be found on page 14. Senate frowns at FMBN over 14 billion naira unexecuted contract. And that's coming on page 5 of the Blueprint. And talking about cryptocurrency, 1 million investors liquidated. Altcoins crashed by 20%. That can be found on page 24. And the last headline for the Blueprint this morning is self-determination. Don't turn Yoruba land to testing ground. Group want, and that can be found on page 15 of the Blueprint newspaper.
Okay, moving away from the Blueprint newspaper to the Daily Times, starting from the very top of the Daily Times newspaper. Enugu community sues government officials, contractor, others over non-execution of ecological projects. That story is there and continues on page 5 of the Daily Times. And then moving over to the very gaping headline on the Daily Times. Asman incident exposed lapses in aviation sector. You can find that story on page 2 of the Daily Times. And then on the issue of insecurity, anxiety as 85-year-old others South Kaduna leaders remain in detention 17 days without trial. That story is on page 11. Beside that, Anchor's borrower scheme, refund beneficiaries hail Buhari over Anchor borrower scheme. That story is also on page 2 of the Daily Times. And then the last headline on the Daily Times newspaper this morning says, non-execution of contract. Auditor General's report indicts FMBN of non-execution of 14 billion naira contract. And you can find that story on page 27 of the Daily Times.
We'll move over to the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. I will begin from the very top. It's Southeast's turn to produce 2023 presidency. That's coming from Edwin Clark, and that story can be found on page 9. Scores feared dead in a Gatu tanker explosion. That can be found on page 9 of the Nigerian Pilot. And the very obvious headline is NBA threatened strike. We have 4 riders in that story. Says SANs and over 20,000 lawyers nationwide will down tools if I mean, if they go on strike, that's what it's saying. And wants 36 state governors to implement financial autonomy for judiciary. And the third one is directs branch chairman to embark on peaceful protest to government houses nationwide. And the last right on the story is protest to continue until their demands are met. And that can be found on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot. Under the picture of the day there, we see Serap Buhari probe alleged missing 106 billion naira in MDAs. That can be found on page 5. And just under the story, Buhari has tolerated us, says Governor Masari. He's saying Buhari has tolerated Nigerians, and that can be found on page 8. And then federal government to end fuel electricity subsidies by mid-2021. And that's found, coming on page 8. Security experts reject Pantami's pleas on pro-Taliban Al-Qaeda comment. That's on page 7. How FMBN paid 14 billion naira to contractor for unexecuted project. That's on page 9. And NCAA approves commercial flight operations at Bayelsa Airport. That's on page 11. And the very last headline during the Nigerian Pilot is Insecurity, reason why oil cores won't relocate headquarters to Niger Delta, coming from the minister, and that can be found on page 10 of the Nigerian Pilot.
Interesting headlines on that one. Moving away from the Nigerian Pilot to the Nigerian News Direct, and starting from the very top as well. E-Transact list 3.65 billion additional shares on NGX exchange. 774,000 jobs. Federal government commences partial payment of stipends. And then on AstraZeneca vaccine, 8,439 mild adverse reaction cases recorded in Nigeria. And that's coming from the federal government. And then just, you know, the very obvious headline there says, federal government generates 1.64 trillion naira from oil, non-oil sectors in 2 months. That's coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Two riders under that headline. The first one, records 485.51 billion naira fiscal deficit as banks others borrow 492.50 billion naira. That story is on page 6. And then just underneath the picture of the day, Governor Abdulrazak's administration remains transparent and accountable. That's coming from Adigun. And then under that, Zulu passes right and attack Damask, meet soldiers, re-equip security with 12 APC patrol vehicles. And then just underneath that one, NAF to tap into skills of Nigerians in diaspora. All of these stories are inside the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, to the very last newspaper for this morning on the newspaper review is the Business Day. And the very top, you can grab the details of the Market Monitor. And the very glaring headline there is Nigeria's March inflation widens negative real return on investment. That can be found on page 30. And then just besides that, power plant suffers shortage amid Nigeria's decade of gas. And the inside this morning is POS vendors overrun Lekki Free Trade Zone as banks shy away. That can be found on page 29 of the Business Day. Which of all these stories, you know, across all of the Nigerian newspapers do you find most interesting?
I think the last one I read on the Nigerian News Direct was saying that NEF to tap into skills of Nigerians in diaspora. I think, you know, we're looking at, I think it was a guest we had on the show that says if we could get, you know, foreign currency coming into the country, probably help boost the economy a little bit. And then how to get that is to, you know, tap into, you know, revenues and all of that from Nigerians in the diaspora, pay remittances and all of that stuff. And I think they're starting to look towards that direction, which is actually very applaudable. So yes, I just hope they don't, you know, start to go left and right with it, or maybe overtaxed or something. I don't know how they're going to. So I just hope we can see the process.
Balancing everything.
Yeah, just find a way of balancing everything. But we just hope to strengthen the naira against the dollar. We'll have to have a lot more foreign exchange coming into the country, and I think, you know, tapping into the foreign Nigerians in diaspora would help a little bit.
All right, good. That's the much we can take on newspaper review for this morning, and we'll go on a break now. When we return, Adeswa will be taking you through the trends on social media for this morning. Just stay.
Welcome back. It's still the conversation on TOS Television Network, and it's about that time where I bring you what story, what hashtag has been trending on social media in the last 24 hours. But talking about social media, you know you should follow TOS TV Network across all social media platforms, right? That's TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also subscribe to TOS TV Network on YouTube, so you do not miss out on the amazing content we have there for you. Also look up our website www.tostvnetwork.com, where you can stream a lot of the contents that we also produce here for you. All right, bringing you back into what's trending on social media. The hashtag Pantami Resign Now has been trending on social media. That's Nigeria's Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Issa Ali Pantami. I think it was last week we were talking about him being on the US terrorist list and all of that stuff, and the Nigerians, going back and forth with that one, and he coming to say no, it's actually not true. People are just mad that he's very stringent on the name registration or something like that. So I think that has come to the fore where he's, I think it came back that he was actually on the list. I think supporters of Al-Qaeda and Talisman. I can't really picture. And the Nigerians have been calling for his resignation on social media. Say, look, if you're on a watch list or terrorist watch list, it doesn't matter whether you're not a terrorist or all of that. But until that is cleared up, we think you should resign.
Step down. Yes,
and then so that has been trending, and I'm going to read out a few tweets, in that regards to you. The first one is from @built, and it says hashtag Pantami Resign Now. If this thing doesn't turn into protest soon, we are collectively not serious. It's time to demand for accountability, justice, and everything they've deprived us of. And then the next one is from @Onyedika Anambra. He says, Kemi Adeosun resigned over forgery. Stella Ududua resigned over corruption allegations. Everyone condemned them, and none asked for forgiveness to continue as a minister. Pantami's case won't be different. A supporter of a Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Hashtag Pantami Resign Now. And then this one is from @King Chikwendu. This man called Pantami should do the needful and throw in the towel. But if it doesn't like it's always in their character to do, then the Nigerian Bar Association should sue him for terrorism. Hashtag Pantami Resign Now. And then the last one is from @Akano Rock. Hashtag Pantami Resign Now. Hashtag Pantami Resign Now. Hashtag Pantami will stay. Hashtag Pantami must say. Who will help? How much is entering the pockets of those in support or against? The price of goods across Nigeria is still the same. The man is eating fat with his family and friends. So what is your reaction? First of all, it's actually, amazing that there are always people who are going to be indifferent. They don't really care about whatever is happening.
Like this last
guy, right? Whatever you guys have said, does it make any difference to the fact that things are still the same in the country? So whether this guy resigns or whether this guy stays, you guys are not making anything from it, because we still have the same situation. I mean, increase in food price and all of that. I think that's basically what he cares about. So what do you think about this whole thing?
I do think Nigeria is not any different from any other country. I can't remember what country it was last week where I think the people were calling for the resignation of some ministers or governors over some sex scandal that was happening. So when an issue of a controversial matter or an issue of national security is being brought to the front burner, and people are saying, look, we don't know your stance on everything. It's only appropriate that someone steps aside till things are clear. Because every other thing that will come on from you, people are going to be asking, I think he's part of it. Why will he do this? So everything is questionable. So it comes back to Nigeria as a country. When we're having alleged, involvement in things as serious as Al-Qaeda, or things of that manner, I think it's only normal that the person will step aside and make sure these things are clear. Then you can now come and clear them and say, then we move on from there. Because when people are calling for these things, they have reasons why they're calling for it. So government either has to, this is my personal thing. They either have to come and say, look, I think this is maybe it's a wrong thing or something, and they'll have to clear with everything and we'll continue. Or if it has not been cleared, I think it's only normal that it steps aside and the thing is sorted out, then can continue from
Yeah,
there.
I do agree with you because he's a sitting minister in the country. That's someone that's representing a sector of the economy. Eyes are going to be on the country. Look, if this guy is
can
on
stay there. The
terrorist
country
watch list,
supports it. That's what
so
I'm saying.
if he stays there, then he doesn't speak well for the country as a whole. So at this time, it shouldn't even be his personal interest that he should stay. It should be the interest of the country. Whatever he's going to do now should be at the interest or at the benefit of the country as a whole. Not it might not be pleasing for him to actually step down at this point or step aside, because a lot of people be like, okay, if I step aside, it might mean that I'm actually really involved in it. But it shouldn't be that way. It should be that, look, whatever I'm doing now is in the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. So stepping aside, I think, is the best thing to do at this point. And then when everything is cleared out, you can be reassigned or reappointed if you still want to continue. But at this point, I think, personally, like most Nigerians think, he should step aside.
Definitely, and I think some people are still of the opinion of that last person that
They
tweeted
don't
and
get
said, look, whatever happens, like, the price of food is still
It's still the
expensive,
same, yeah.
whatever is still happening. And I really don't understand where that person is coming from, because they have thought, how does this affect me?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Exactly.
Whatever happens in the news, there are some group of people that will keep saying, how is this affecting me? Okay, Minister of Communication, what has he been doing
Yeah,
for me?
whether it's a terrorist or not, I don't care about it. As long as he's not putting
As
money
long as
in
it's
my
not putting money in my
That's
pocket,
what I
that's
know
what they're
Nigerians say, exactly. But I think we should all be concerned about what actually
Definitely,
happens in
we
the
should.
country. Because it's our country. Whatever happens, directly or indirectly, has an effect or a ripple effect on us. So we should all be concerned, and we can't be indifferent about what's happening in the country at this point. Okay. All right. That's what's trending on social media segment of the conversation. We're going to go on a break now. And when we come back, we'll be taking you on the big story.
Welcome back to the conversation, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, that is TOS Television. It's that time where we'll bring you the crux of the program, that is the big story. Before we continue, don't forget you have to follow us across all our social media platforms at TOS TV Network on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course watch our program live on our website www.tostvnetwork.com. This is the big story, and today we'll be talking about the dilemma: soaring food prices amidst inflation and insecurity. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria's inflation figures currently stands at 18%. Food prices has also been on a constant increase, making it difficult for more homes to cope post-pandemic. According to a report by business and financial data website Bloomberg, food inflation has accelerated at the highest pace in 15 years, making it even more difficult for many households to cope. The report also stated that insurgency, unrest, and the stand of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration on the importation of food is worsening food security in the country. The coronavirus pandemic has also robbed 70% of Nigerians of some form of income, as Nigeria's unemployment rate has risen to second highest on the global list. With a current external debt of 32 trillion naira, unemployment rate of 33.3%, inflation of about 18%, food inflation of about 20%, and ranking third on the Global Terrorism Index, will the country be able to rid itself of the soaring food prices amid inflation and insecurity? Joining us on the program this morning to discuss this is Mr. Aliyu Audu. He is an economist. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, so firstly, can you relate the nation's current inflation rate to that of the rising food prices, and why are we experiencing all of this at this time?
Oh, thank you very much. The inflation rate stands about 18%, and it has been increasing from January till date. Well, there are different factors responsible for that. One of them, you notice recently there's been increase in electricity, for about 100% increase. Now, electricity is used in the production of a lot of things. Now, if the cost of electricity increases, it is normal that producers will now move these prices to anything they sell, and food is one of them. Food is involved in a lot of production processes. That's why you see that the cost of food has gone up. Now, recently also you notice that there was an increase in price of petrol, and there was rumored increase in price of petrol. Now, this also will lead to increase in food prices. This is what they call cost push inflation, because the price of one commodity increases, and because people need to, the farmers transporting their goods from one location to another, from the north to the south, there's fuel, cost of fuel, and that's added to the food, the cost of food. So that leads to increase in food prices. That is what is called cost push inflation. So these two variable factors that I talked about are the primary source of what is causing increase in food prices. Another one is insecurity. Actually, that is the major one that is affecting it, because a lot of people now, farmers cannot go to the farm to farm because they're afraid of attack by herdsmen. You know, if you look at Jos is one of those few cases that you see that people cannot go out to farm, and if you cannot go out if farmers cannot farm,
You can't make food.
there's food shortage. The small that is left, the prices go up because demand exceeds supply. These are the three variable factors affecting the cost of food in the Nigerian market right now.
Okay, I would like further, expansion on that one, because I do know, Mespo did say earlier that Nigeria's debt, as at today stands at 32 trillion naira. But I also do know that the government of this day have been putting money into different sectors, government spending, agriculture, ICT, manufacturing sectors to ensure that the economy will boost the economy a little bit. But despite all of this spending, we still have the naira still crashing. We still have, inflation. We still have increase in food prices. Why do we keep having that, or why do we still have that despite government spending?
Well, first of all, the government is not spending enough. Now, in relation to our spending compared to other countries, if you look at our budget, we have a budget of about $35 billion. South Africa has a budget of $120 billion. Now, we have the largest market in Africa. We're supposed to spend more than any other person. So what that tells you is that there's inefficiency. We have the largest market, but the government spending is very small. That means we're not tapping into the efficiency of the market. So that tells us that there's inefficiency in the market. And that is what is, leading to us spending very small like that. Now, if we want to make changes in agriculture and manufacturing, as you talked about, we need to spend more. We need to bring in foreign direct investment. If you look at manufacturing, currently we're not manufacturing. We're a consuming economy. We have a food import bill of $5 billion a year. That means we import sugar, we import wheat, we import milk, we import a lot of things. We only produce 2% of our sugar. Burkina Faso produces 38%, and a lot of smaller other African countries are doing better than us. Now, the African Development Bank has told us that we have enough agric land to farm sugar and even export. Why are we not doing that? Now, I'm linking it to government expenses. Now, we have, I think the last allocation to agriculture was about 100 and something billion. That is too small. We're the largest economy in Africa. Look at Ghana. I was just doing, a lot of companies are going to Ghana to invest. Banana. They're investing in growing banana in over 1,000 acres. These are investments that should come to Nigeria ordinarily if our security was good. And we're not spending enough. It's garbage in, garbage out. Now, the government is the source of private sector spending. So the more you spend, it trickles down to the private sector. So if you are spending 100 billion in loan for agriculture, nah, you are not going to get anywhere, because other countries are spending a lot more. Other countries are spending $1 billion and above on agriculture.
Okay, on that one, I did say earlier that we have a 32 trillion naira debt in the country. Doesn't that say, you're saying we're not spending enough, but doesn't that, having that much debt in the country, doesn't that say that we don't have that much money to spend on all those things?
Well, yeah, we have $32 trillion debt, but what you find out is that is this debt being properly utilized for what they are borrowed for? Our debt in comparison to other countries is actually quite low. In comparison to a country like Russia, is quite low. But what they are doing is that they are investing in infrastructure, because once you take a debt and you invest in a project, that project over time pays itself. Now, once you take a debt and you do not invest it properly in the project for some reason that you took the debt for, that means you're piling more debt and there's no means of repayback. Now, if you look at the budget, about 1/4 of the budget is spent on debt repayment, which is totally wrong. We should not be doing that, because these projects that we're borrowing for should be able to pay themselves. If you're now spending a lot of the budget on debt repayment, what is left for capital projects? And capital project is where you generate jobs, infrastructure, which we have a huge infrastructural deficit. So, I do not believe, because I was a banker and we borrowed to do the railway. I mean, we don't see a lot of railway in Nigeria right now. So what was the debt used for? We keep borrowing. Are we borrowing to finance the infrastructure? Are we borrowing to do what we said we are going to do capital projects? Because we don't see a lot of capital projects coming up. We still have bad roads. We have electricity, issues of electricity. Electricity is not constant. And as a matter of fact, much more recently, the price of electricity doubled by 100%. Why? What is that? That's stifling the economy more and more, because people cannot afford. Minimum wage has not increased. People's salary has not increased. Inflation is going up, and you are increasing the price of electricity.
Now, when you were
That's not good.
When you were explaining on the issue, the emphasis on how we should increase the budget, you said if the security was okay.
Yes.
Now, do you think at this time, as where we are now as a country, if the security was perfect, would this inflation rate still have been at where it is now?
No, if insecurity was okay, I think the inflation would have dropped. Because the reason why people don't farm in the cities, people go to the rural areas to farm. And rural areas is where you have the Fulani headsmen and all the attacks going on. So definitely, people cannot go out to farm. We have Benue. Benue is the food basket of the nation. We have Jos, another food basket of the nation. And these are two high insecurity states. So how do you expect people to produce food? Farmers can go out to produce food, and as such, that is going to affect the prices of food. The production of food is going to reduce. That is greatly contributing to inflation, because even farmers transferring their foods from the north to the south, Zamfara, Borno, all those places, they can't do it because of insecurity. That is going to add to inflation, and I'm sure that has added 2 to 3 points to the inflation rate today.
If we borrow money now as a country, do you think it will take us out of this mess?
Why are we borrowing? Borrow for what? We have enough land to produce. Let's produce. Let's look inward. Let's produce. We have enough agrarian land. Look at countries like Israel. Look at South Korea. They don't have lands, but they are managing what they have. They don't have good fertile soil. They're using science to improve their soil, and they are food sufficient. We are blessed with land right, left, and center. We have no business borrowing. Let's produce. We should not be going to import sugar from other countries. We're not a producing economy. Why? We're a consuming economy. That is why the price of the dollar is going up, because we're always importing food. We should not be doing that. We should look inward. Now, let's look at one policy that the Buhari regime implemented. They banned the production of rice, and ever since then, you notice we are producing our own rice. We are now competing with international producers, and we are even exporting rice out. This is creating employment. So we need to look inward. Milk with sugar, we need to ban it. Dangote importing and all the big companies importing sugar needs to stop. We need to produce our own food, because we can feed the country, we can feed our nation and export. And when we start feeding ourselves and exporting, that's when we'll be able to generate more revenue and be able to do other things. And also, it will give Naira some respect, because we are no more demanding dollars.
Okay. With the situation of the country right now, looking at how everything is right now, with your projection, when do you think we'll be able to stabilize the Nigerian economy?
When the government agencies do their jobs. The security people should do their jobs. You cannot stabilize the economy when there's insecurity. Somebody needs to get to work. Somebody needs to get to work and do their work. And that is the only time we can move forward. The security agencies and whoever is responsible need to get to business and stop the insecurity. We're a country of 60 years and over, and these insurgencies They just started in the last 10 years. They can't be more than Nigeria. Nigeria, you know, they can't. So we need to wake up and do our business and stop the insecurity. That is the only way you can help the economy. There's no other way around it. Insecurity is number one, and that needs to stop. Any other thing, we can move the economy around, tinkle with one or two things, but insecurity is the primary source of problem here, and that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
No other way around it.
So when insecurity is curbed, we can see an increase in manufacturing.
When insecurity is curbed, you can see increase in production of agricultural goods. That is going to happen, and then you see what they call people want to invest, foreign direct investment. Now, Kellogg's recently built a 6 billion Kellogg's factory in Lagos. Now, a lot of people, because I'm part of the diaspora community, and we do our yearly investment summit, which we bring in investors to invest in Nigeria. The North, people are afraid of the North going there, and that is costing the country billions of dollars, because the North is very fertile. You heard about Olam going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in Kaduna in production of rice and other goods. Kano is the commercial nerve center, and it has a lot of agrarian land for production of tomato and all that. A lot of people want to invest in Nigeria because we have fertile land and all that.
We have the population.
We have the population, but that's not happening today because of insecurity. Recently, a company went to invest in Ghana and bought over 1,000 hectares of land to produce banana and import to European countries because of the vegetation, the climate is very good for growing banana. Now, such investment should come to Nigeria because we have bigger land, we have bigger population and all that. Why is this investment not coming to Nigeria? So insecurity is costing Nigeria in the region of $50 billion a year in lost investment. There's no way around it.
But is that to say there's no issue of insecurity in all of these neighboring countries?
No, there isn't. Not as much as Nigeria. You don't hear of in Ghana headsmen going to attack. You don't hear of Boko Haram. You know, these things might look little to you, but the trickle effect, there's what they call the multiplier effect. By the time you think Boko Haram is a small thing, by the time it gets to another country or it gets to the news and they say Boko Haram, people killed, Chibok girls kidnapped and all that, it's a bigger thing in other countries, and people are worried, whoa, Nigeria is not a safe place, we cannot invest our money, and people don't want to invest. So the insecurity is costing us in the region of $50 billion every year. This issue needs to be addressed. There's no two ways about it. Somebody needs to do their job. Somebody is currently not doing their job.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to have you. And thank you guys for joining us on the conversation this morning. Don't forget, you can be a part of the conversation. Just follow TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also, subscribe on YouTube at TOS TV Network so you do not miss out on the amazing content we have there for you. You can also stream the conversation on www.tostvnetwork.com. My name is Adesuwa Osuyi.
And I am Merciful Ajinamo. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day ahead.